Loaded show to get to here on today's 76ers Now. I'm Jake Chipper. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll get started with a Quentin Grimes contract projection from an NBA insider. Get an idea of when they might finally come to terms on an agreement and what that contract could look like. The NBA beginning to release some of this season's upcoming schedule, some of their big primetime games to kick off the year, Christmas, MLK Day. Where do the Sixers fit in with all of that? And finally, James Harden mentioning Joel Embiid when talking about some of his best teammates of all time. Embiid recently said that him and James Harden don't speak anymore, so James Harden now speaking about Joel Embiid. Before we get into all of this here on today's show, a little bit of a chat sports like battle we got going on between us here at 76ers Now and some of the other big NBA channels here at the company. You can see the numbers here. Knicks now, Celtics today, Warriors today, Mavericks today, all in their most recent videos, doing pretty good in the likes number. But I want to beat all of these teams and show the bosses here at Chat Sports that 76ers Now, and you guys, the Sixers fans, know how to get it done and bring that passion every single day. So if you want to beat all of these channels, the Knicks, Celtics, Warriors, Mavericks fans, go ahead, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. I'd really appreciate that. So let's begin the latest on Quentin Grimes. And look, the standoff really just continues here with Grimes. Not a whole lot of new information in terms of what's been going on. But if you need to be caught up on the latest with the Sixers restricted free agent, of course, does remain unsigned as Sixers seemingly not wanting to meet his demands and his agent and team's demands of a $20 million plus per year contract. Now, Jake Fisher, NBA insider, did say there was some buzz Quentin Grimes could go and take the $8.7 million qualifying offer. I think that was more coming from Grimes' camp to try to put pressure on the Sixers. I don't think it makes sense for Grimes to take the qualifying offer. I don't think he will. I don't think he should take that 1-year deal. And the Sixers, Jake Fisher added, are still confident they will keep Grimes, and they still do want it to be a priority to have Grimes back on this roster. So the question becomes, and the question we are still waiting for the answer to, can the two sides find a deal that works for both of them? Because they're seemingly kind of far apart on a number, monetary-wise, average annual value between Grimes and the Sixers side of things. And I think both sides are justified in what each of them want out of this deal, right? Quentin Grimes, coming off a tremendous stretch of games with Philadelphia, wants to capitalize on the numbers he put up and the play he put out there on film in those 28 games with Philly. He feels like he deserves a significant pay increase, and he wants to cash in, and I can't blame a player for wanting to do that when he has those numbers to back it up. But also in the Sixers' perspective, it was a small sample size, right? Only 28 games, and you're not bidding against anybody else. No one else is offering Quentin Grimes a deal. There's no reason to pay more than you need to because you just be, again, bidding against yourself. No reason to fork over that extra cash. So I get it from both sides. So can they work together to find common ground here on a contract? Brett Siegel, NBA insider for Clutch Points, put together his contract projection for Quentin Grimes, and I think it's a pretty good number that works for both sides. A 3-year, $45.7 million deal comes in at right about $15.2 million average annual value with a player option on that third year. I think this is a good number that would please both Grimes and please the Sixers and allow him to stay on this team at least for the next couple of seasons. Here is Siegel on this contract from Grimes' perspective first. Although he was very successful in Philadelphia last season, most of Grimes' big-time performances came without the vast majority of the Sixers' actual roster healthy and around him. He still needs to prove that he can play without the ball in his hands and be an offensive threat off the ball next to Maxey, George, and Embiid. This 3-year contract allows Grimes to do just that and make more than he would by betting on himself with the qualifying offer. Again, just $8.7 million. When it comes time to decide on his player option on that third year, Grimes could be in a position where he can opt out and create a bidding war for himself at 27 years old. I think this makes a lot of sense for Quentin Grimes. I know him and his team wanted more money than $15 million average annual value, but look, it's still a big pay bump from what he's been making so far in his NBA career. It's a big pay bump over what the qualifying offer would be at $8.7 million. You get some long-term financial security for the next 2 to 3 seasons. And if he doesn't want to play on that number come year 3 of the contract, he thinks he has outperformed that number, he can opt out and he'll only be 27 years old. He'll still be firmly in his prime. We can go out and get another big deal. So, although it's not quite the $20 million a year contract he might have wanted, I think it's a deal that will make a lot of sense for Grimes to take. Now, here is Siegel from the Sixers' perspective with this deal. Essentially, the Sixers would control Grimes for the next 2 seasons on a fair value deal before he can opt out of his contract and figure out his future in the league. As of right now, Sixers are $9.8 million below the first tax apron, $21.6 million away from the second apron. Crossing into the first apron to retain Grimes is a given at this point, unless he accepts a qualifying offer. Given his talent, the fact that he's still only 25, Grimes is a player the Sixers should be comfortable giving this 3-year contract to, even if he ends up leaving in 2027. Just seems like the perfect win-win scenario to me. I know Philadelphia ideally would stay below that first apron, but look, crossing over the first apron, really not that big of a deal. It's a second apron you don't want to cross, and this allows you to still be about $6-7 million below that number as you head into the season. I think that's where the Sixers really want to be, where they can bring back Grimes, still be under the second apron, so they have some flexibility to make some moves once the trade deadline comes around. And again, you do get him for a couple of seasons. And look, if he outperforms that deal, opts out in a couple of years, hopefully by then, Jared McCain's coming along, BJ Edgecombe's coming along. You won't really need to pay Grimes that big money. He can go out, he can get his deal. This is absolutely a win-win. And I imagine Philadelphia is offering something in this range. It's, in my opinion, I think Grimes is the one sort of holding up this deal. I'd be surprised if Philadelphia isn't offering somewhere from 14 to 15 million, right around that mid-level exception number. I believe Grimes is the one trying to hold on for 18, 19, 20 million, but I do believe when it's all said and done, he will end up lowering that number a little bit, taking that 2-year deal with the player option the third year. Makes too much sense for both sides. Maybe he can cash in again, but $50 million is still a pay increase from what he was previously making in his NBA career. Deal or no deal? Do you think this contract is fair for Quentin Grimes and for the Sixers? 3 years, $45 million. Just give me a simple yes or no down in the comments section if you believe this is a fair deal or not. So, moving on from Quentin Grimes to some NBA schedule notes. This week, the NBA is starting to release some of their big primetime games on the NBA calendar, opening night, Christmas, things like that. And really, to no surprise, the Sixers are nowhere to be found on this first wave of primetime games. Now, there will be some more games released on Wednesday and the full schedule released on Thursday. So, not to say they have no primetime games, but at least in this first wave, they have none. Beginning with opening night in the NBA, which will be Tuesday, October 21st on NBC and Peacock. NBC, of course, now coming back to having some NBA rights. Should be pretty exciting. Houston Rockets, Oklahoma City Thunder, Kevin Durant back in town in OKC as they raise their championship banner. It should be a good one. And then Warriors, Lakers, classic Steph versus LeBron there. Should be a good opening night, but of course, no Sixers. Then opening week on ESPN. Sixers the past couple of years have been on one of these ESPN opening week games against the Milwaukee Bucks. That is no longer the case this year, at least as of right now. Wednesday, October 22nd, you get Cavs, Knicks. Should be two of the best teams in the East. Spurs, Mavs, Wemby versus Cooper Flag. You're going to see the Mavs represented a lot in here. Cooper Flag, a big draw. Then on Thursday, you get the finals rematch, Thunder, Pacers, and then Nuggets, Warriors to end the night. Christmas Day. This is a day the Sixers have been playing on a lot in recent years. Almost every single year, the Sixers do seem to have a Christmas Day game. They do not this year. Remember, last year, they went to Boston and beat the Boston. That might have been in Philly, but they played Boston on Christmas Day, won that game in what was a big December for them before everything came crashing down. This year, no rights for Philadelphia either. You get Cavs, Knicks again, Spurs, Thunder, Mavs, Warriors, Rockets, Lakers, Timberwolves, Nuggets. Should be a good day of games. And you know what? You don't have to stress about the Sixers playing on Christmas Day. You can just enjoy some good hoops and enjoy your Christmas. And then on MLK Day, this also on NBC and Peacock, no Sixers once again. You get Bucks, Hawks, Thunder, Cavs, Mavs again. Third time we've seen Mavs here against the Knicks. And Celtics versus Pistons. Pistons getting some love on some of these nationally televised games. They do deserve it. But of course, as you can see, no Philadelphia 76ers on any of this first initial wave of big time prime time games. And honestly, I like it better this way. I understand given what happened last year and the injury concerns and the disappointing season, the NBA is not going to be jumping at the bit to put the Sixers on all these nationally televised games, even though, if healthy, they do have a lot of talent and should be a big draw. But you know what? I like it better this way. Let this Sixers team improve and work kind of in silence in a way. A lot of people are counting them out and doubting on them. That's totally fine. I would love if this team kind of quietly under the radar starts off the season strong and builds up over that first half of the year instead of seeing them on national TV where they tend to crumble and all this in front of a big audience. Let them work up on these non-nationally televised games, and then maybe they could be a big surprise this season to make the NBA regret not putting them on these big games. But speaking of the schedule, a reminder, do not miss out because the full NBA schedule and the full Sixers schedule will be dropping in 2 days, Thursday, August 14th, and we will have you covered with all the big games, news, notes, and all of that from their schedule right here on the show. So be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications. That way, when we post that video and any video here on the channel, you will be notified. Ending off real quick with some of this James Harden, Joel Embiid talk because Harden was on a podcast just the other day where he was asked about some of his top teammates and did actually mention Joel Embiid. We'll get to that here in just a second. But first, got to keep telling you guys about this insane deal on this pullover hoodie. But the deal, it was previously about $28. It's getting a little more expensive. Now, it's still 50% off, which is still a tremendous, tremendous deal, down from $70 to $35. But you can see as time goes on, the price will start going up a little bit here and there. So you have to take advantage right now because it's just going to keep going up and up and up. You're never going to get it as cheap as it is right now. So if you missed out previously on the deal for this pullover hoodie, got to take advantage today. Chatsports.com/76pullover. Link is right there below me. It'll be in the comment section and description of the show as well. Again, chatsports.com/76pullover. Take advantage before it is too late. So James Harden showing Joel Embiid some love. Kind of surprising to me because, after Harden left from Philly to the Clippers when he was back playing against Philadelphia in Philly, he was asked, do you still talk with Joel Embiid? He said, nah, not really. We're not really cool like that right now. And then just recently in the ESPN article that dropped on Joel Embiid, he kind of went in depth on his relationship with Harden and revealed that, they still have not talked. Embiid had this to say, no one knows this, but even James Harden is not talking to me. That's the part I don't like about being that guy because it puts you in the middle of those situations. Because if you ask James, he probably believes I had something to do with him not being here. And I'm just like, I won the scoring title. You won the assist title. We had a pick and roll that was unstoppable, but no longer are they really friends at this point. But James Harden was asked recently who his top 5 starting lineup would be of his former teammates, right? So guys that he's played with, who was his top 5 in that starting lineup. And he did put Joel Embiid in here with himself, of course, Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, gave a shout out to Chris Paul as well. He's played with a lot of good players, a lot of good guards in particular. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit shocked that he did throw Embiid in here, considering it kind of seemed like they almost had this beef of sorts. Harden somewhat blamed Embiid for him being pushed out of Philadelphia. I think that was mostly on Daryl Morey, so I don't think the blame really should be on Embiid. But good to see, Harden at least showing Embiid some respect, even if they don't talk, even if they're not really friends and, chopping it up in the offseason. Good to see some respect shown between the two because I think some people are starting to think there might have been beef there. Good to know that I don't think there really is a whole lot of beef there at the moment. He at least respects him as a basketball player. And, speaking of this Harden Embiid era, because, I saw this and we're talking about James Harden, we're talking about Joel Embiid. It just had me thinking back to that year and a half that Harden was here in Philadelphia. And, there were some fun times, man. They were really, really good, especially in the regular season when James Harden did come over, especially in the full season he had, that 2022-23 season after he was traded there the season prior. And look, they were good. They won a lot of games. They came very, very close, basically as close as they have besides that Toronto Raptors series to making a conference finals. They were up 3-2 against Boston in the playoffs with a chance to close out that series at home and make it to the conference finals. But they crumbled, lost back-to-back games. Tatum had that 50-piece in that Game 7 in Boston. And just another iteration of this Sixers team that was fun. They were good. But at the end of the day, disappointing. I think one of the better pairings, one of the better teammates that Joel Embiid has ever played with really unlocked his game. Embiid was the MVP when he played with James Harden, but unfortunately didn't work out. Daryl Morey didn't deliver on the promises he had given to James Harden, and we know how that's all gone since then. But just a disappointing era when I think what could have resulted in some better things, unfortunately, it just did not. James Harden, I think, might be the best teammate Joel Embiid has ever had from a talent perspective. What do you guys think? Who is Joel Embiid's best teammate ever? Some names that come to mind besides Harden: Jimmy Butler, Tyrese Maxey, I know, but even when he was good, Ben Simmons was a good player when he was younger. I think he has to be in that conversation at least as well. Let me know, who do you think Joel Embiid's best teammate ever is down in the comments. And you want to throw me a follow over on X/Twitter. I'm on there at Jake Chipper. You want to chop it up, talk some more Sixers. I'm also posting a lot of content from the channel over on my X page. So go give me a follow, go give me a shout, and we'll see you next time right here on 76ers Now.